Welcome back to A Little Bit of Cheese, your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. I'm your host, Cody Depius. I want to thank you for being here on a Friday evening show, recording this a little bit later than usual. We've had a busy day, but I think everything's going to be all set, and we're going to have a fun one. It should be another great weekend once again coming up for both of the big football teams that we cover. Of course, the Wisconsin Badgers will be at Iowa tomorrow. It'll be a night game. That should be a fun one. It's the battle for the Heartland Trophy, and it's one that Wisconsin, of course, lost last year. Tyler Van Dyke had to come into that game, did not perform well. The offense was not able to do anything. This is a Iowa team that has pretty much had an identical season to what Wisconsin has had so far. Neither team is ranked. Both teams are 5-3 overall, and both teams are 3-2 in the Big Ten. So this is really the which brother is going to be the big brother this time around, and this could be the one game for Luke Fickell to really establish himself once again. I keep on saying this every time. We're still waiting for that identity to be established. We're still waiting for that one point where we can go and we can look back on Luke Fickell's tenure in Wisconsin and say this is where he really got it going. We haven't seen that moment yet, and I don't think this is as great of an opportunity for the Badgers to go and do that for Luke Fickell this week, but I do think it could be used as a good stepping stone. Of course, Iowa and Wisconsin, they've been neck and neck for quite a while now. And I think this just, you look at both of these teams, they have similar identities. They're both trying to change some things on offense as in comparison to what each franchise or college has done historically, which has been run the ball and have good defense. Now both of these offense is trying to throw it a little bit more, trying to sling it. Of course, Wisconsin with the air raid, they haven't seen the success with it so far, and I think they're starting to come into their own. I think one of the big keys, once again, is Braden Locke going to have to try to not throw that big interception. We said it going into last week against Penn State. He's going to have to stay clean and not turn the ball over, and really the big turning point in that game was the pick six against the Nittany Lions, and that just changed the entire tide of the game. All the momentum was flipped over to Penn State at that point. Wisconsin wasn't able to come back from it. We talked a little bit about it this week, but the defense then got tired because the offense couldn't do anything when they had the ball. The time of possession was all the way in Penn State's favor, and that's going to be another big key here. How does Braden Locke continue to improve? He wasn't expected to start this year, of course. Coming into the season, he was the backup quarterback. Tyler Van Dyke got hurt in the game against Alabama, and it's been Locke's show ever since. He's looked good at times. He's looked not so good at times. But in every game that he has started, he has thrown an interception. We'll just see if that continues. We hope not, of course. But I think that this is an Iowa defense that is not similar to what they've had in the past. Iowa's defense is one of the top defenses in the nation the last couple of years. Not really the case this year. I think Tawee Walker has the opportunity to have a really big game for Wisconsin, and especially if they can lead on the run a little bit more, maybe that keeps Locke away from throwing the dangerous passes that we see get intercepted and sometimes, in the case of last week, taken back for a touchdown. So we can stay away from that, lean on the run game. Wisconsin, they're set up. They are 2.5-point underdogs where it stands right now. But even going into Iowa, I think Wisconsin has a really solid shot. This is a Wisconsin team that I think is better than a Michigan State team that had beaten Iowa so far this year. Of course, Iowa had a bigger win against Northwestern, but they did allow a little bit more points against a Northwestern offense that Wisconsin did not allow anything against. So these teams matching up, they've had very similar seasons to where it comes to this point. And I think Wisconsin just set up top to bottom on the roster. The defense has been playing really well. I think Fickell hit the nail on the head when he said that they really just got tired last week, and that was the reason as to why they didn't perform well at the end. I think it was pretty obvious. They were on the field way too much. But they started out looking really, really solid. If the offense can keep the time of possession a little bit more even, then I think you have a Wisconsin win. I think that is the case. I think Tawee Walker steps in. I think he has a solid game. I think Braden Locke just continues to be that game manager that he needs to be. But Iowa does have a very good running back, maybe one of the top in the nation. Caleb Johnson, already over 1,000 yards so far in the season. He's one of the best runners they've had in a very long time. And that's going to be Wisconsin's key on defense, is to be able to bottle him up. They've done solid with good running backs to this point. It's just because I don't think Iowa's going to be able to throw the ball all that much. Wisconsin in the secondary has actually looked pretty solid. You look at, of course, the Alabama game and USC, they fell apart. And I think Iowa's passing game has gone through so much so far this year. They've had 2 quarterbacks step in now, and they're not where they thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. It hasn't been like a unified idea, a unified plan as to what the offense is going to do. But the one thing that has been a constant for them has been their running back in Caleb Johnson. They're going to lean on him. Wisconsin's going to have to key in on him and stop him if they want to win the Heartland Trophy on Saturday. And, of course, the big game on Sunday, I will be there. Sam will be there at Lambeau Field. Detroit at Green Bay, the battle for the NFC North right now, where it stands, of course, going into Week 9. Whoever wins this is going to be the top dog and probably considered as the best team in the NFL, or one of the best. I think Detroit, top to bottom, has the best roster, and I think Green Bay, right now, 3.5-point underdogs at home. I think that line could actually increase in favor of Detroit. As today it was reported that Evan Williams and Jair Alexander did not play. And I talked about it before. I think that is going to be more influential on if Jordan Love plays or not. And that's my opinion, but I think Jair Alexander missing out on this game. And in addition to that, Evan Williams not being there, the secondary is very thin already, where you get to the point where you have, of course, Xavier McKinney, and now Javon Bullard is going to have to move from slot corner back to his safety position. Your next safety in line is Ketan Oladapo, who's a late-round pick, a project guy who has not played anything in the NFL so far. And it's kind of a scary thought. And then the cornerbacks, you have to move Keyshawn Nixon from the outside where he has played okay back to the slot corner where he's not. And you're going to have to see a lot more production out of your Eric Stokes and your Carrington Valentine. The secondary is very thin, and this is a Detroit offense that has been running on all cylinders. Jared Goff is probably the MVP right now so far at this point in the season. 2 very, very solid running backs, 2 maybe Pro Bowl caliber guys in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and one of the best receivers, I think, in the NFL, Amon-Ra St. Brown. This roster's got it made. And on top of that, a really good tight end, probably top 5 in Sam Laporta, and an offensive line that has 2 guys that are the best at their position in football, Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow. Like this team is just so good, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways. Jeff Hafley, I know he's probably got a bit of a headache right now trying to prepare for this team, especially with the guys that they're going to have out there. This is not a favorable matchup. Jordan Love did practice for the 2nd straight day. He's looking a little bit better. I imagine he's going to play. He was listed as limited in practice, but he is questionable for the game. He's going to play. That's Sam and I said it even on Monday. There's no shot that he misses out on a game this big. I know it's just a mid-season game, and it's just Week 9. Yeah, Green Bay could really get stopped here, and their season could end up being okay. Like, they could lose this game, and then they could go on and get hot and win the whole thing at the end of it. But at this point in the year, this is as important as it gets. Week 9, Detroit's coming into your house. They're at the top. They're considered one of the best teams in the NFL. You got a bye week coming up after this, for maybe if Love gets dinged up just a little bit in this game, you can expect to see him back in 2 weeks. He'd get a little bit of time to recover. And that makes me think that there is a chance, even on the defensive side with Williams and Alexander, maybe they try to push the envelope there too. Like I said, you got that bye week. You can try to use it to your advantage. Of course, don't put these guys out in positions where they could get hurt and be out even past what we would think they would be with the bye week coming up next week. Be safe with it. This is an important game. This should be an exciting one. Of course, like I said, Sam and I, we're going to be going to it. We'll have our green and gold there, and we'll have a really fun Monday show when we get back and we get to talk all about it. But some really, really big games. Of course, the rivalry games at Iowa, Wisconsin, and Detroit at Green Bay. So the weekend's all set up for us. I don't want to talk about the Bucs. They got stomped by a Memphis Grizzlies team that was so thin yesterday. I think Doc Rivers is on the hot seat. I think the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade conversation might heat up, especially nationally, because this is a Milwaukee Bucks team that has struggled, to say the least. 1-4, and 3 of those losses are really bad losses. You have losses to the Chicago Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, and now the Memphis Grizzlies, who are missing 3 starters and 4 bench players. They were so thin, and it wasn't even a close game. I think it was 122-98 was the final score there, and they were down 70-48 at half. The team got throttled. Damian Lillard had one of his worst performances in his entire career. Giannis looked good, but the rest of the team was just defensively, offensively, there was nothing good to take out of yesterday. But hopefully our hopes can get right back up with the football coming up this weekend. I'm excited. I'll have the Badgers on tomorrow. I'll have the Packers on Sunday. And Sam will be back on Monday as we have our Reaction Monday coming up. And this is a little bit of an announcement for the show. For those of you that have kind of stuck with this thing, of course we start. It's a little bit of cheese, your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. Now I think it's going to morph into a Monday and Thursday show. This is our tentative idea. And of course I want feedback on these things too. I want to know what you guys want to hear, what I'm talking about, anything in the conversation way. If you like any of the special segments that I've tried before or what Sam and I do, just give me a little bit of feedback. I'd like that. I want to make this something that is enjoyable, of course, for you guys to listen. I want you guys to want to kind of pick in my brain a little bit, see what I think about things. Ask some questions. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. And I want to thank you guys all for being here. It really does mean a lot. I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and I enjoy it a lot, of course, intrinsically, but I want to make this an enjoyable thing for you guys as well. So if you want to give a little bit of feedback right now, my kind of idea is to have a Monday, Thursday podcast, so we try to condense the content, make it more, I'd say more rich. I don't want to try to fluff things up over an entire week and have 5 episodes, and really we could cover what we want to in 2. I could try to just get you the bigger stories and make it more condensable, more listenable. So just let me know what you think. You can text me personally. You can comment down in the YouTube. You can do whatever you want. But our plan, we'll be back on Monday, and then we'll plan to have another show next Thursday. So we'll do 2 shows a week. We'll get you a recap on Monday, and we'll get you all prepped on Thursday. And I think that's the rest of the football season is going to go. And that'll make it a little bit easier for both of us, and we'll try to just make the content as good as we possibly can. So I am your host, Cody Depius. I want to thank you for being here with us once again today. So you'll see you back on Monday for Reaction Monday. So this has been another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.